Okay, today we are looking at a video done by Alexander Grace, because he has a few things to say about empathy in men and women, and I had a few thoughts on this video that I want to express. Okay, now first of all, Alexander Grace shows like a video. There's some woman played a really kind of nasty prank on her boyfriend because she didn't like the fact that he was spending too much time playing video games. So she deleted one of the games that he'd been working really hard at. Like he'd been I don't know what game it is, but he'd been working for a very long time, and she deleted all the work he did, and he was very upset about it, and he ended up dumping her. Which, you know, fair enough. I agree that that's a horrible thing to do if he'd worked really hard at it. I mean, I know it's only a game, but like people put a lot of effort into these things. I wouldn't be very happy if somebody deleted something that I'd spent ages doing. So, yeah, okay, fair enough. That was a really not very nice woman, okay? And I'll link the video down below if anybody wanted to see it, okay? So, yeah, I get because they like to show They like to show a lot of videos, or sometimes TikTok videos, of, you know, bad behaviour from women, and it's always to sort of paint women in the worst light and say, like, oh, look how terrible women are, ignoring the fact that if you looked for it, you could find the same. You could find men being mean to their girlfriends as well. Okay, but anyway, I just wanted to listen to like a few of what he has to say about empathy.
The message must be communicated that the lack of empathy flowing from women towards men is unacceptable, needs to change. I am sick of people excusing female cruelty to men, saying, oh, women just get emotional, they just get caught up in the moment. Women have impulse control issues. Yeah. Sometimes cruelty from women is just an impulse reaction, but other times the cruelty is planned. Deleting the video game, she planned that, she filmed that. The cruelty is sustained over a long period of time with seemingly no compassion or remorse. Because the children, the young generations, are the recipients of whatever cultural messages are flowing down from the top. And what are we telling young women these days? You are special and men don't count. No one is talking about this because it's almost too awful to be able to really look at directly. But this culture has a very serious problem, a sickness at its very heart. So many modern women have no empathy for men, and they are not being shamed for that lack of empathy. They are proud of it. Of all of the forms of bigotry that Western civilization has had to navigate through, female to male sexism is one of the most widespread, unacknowledged, unchallenged, unexamined. We don't want to believe it because it's too dark, but we must face reality. Some women enjoy torturing men. They get a power trip out of being cruel, hurting men. And maybe there's alarm bells going off in your mind like, I don't know, Alexander, are you a bit out there? Is this a bit extreme? This can't be true. Isn't there science that shows that women are more empathetic than men? Okay, just wait till I show you what the data actually shows, and the cultural myth that women are full of empathy and compassion and sensitivity. Let me tell you, that myth is dangerous, and as a cultural idea, it is causing harm. Going about our lives believing that women are nothing but sweetness and understanding gives us a false sense that we are safe, when in truth, that idea is just acting as a cover which allows monsters to walk around in broad daylight undetected. You have been told your whole life that women are kinder, more compassionate, more empathetic than men. You have been lied to. In studies like this one, you have researchers saying, common sense tells us that women have better social skills and are especially better at understanding others' emotions. Indeed, research has shown that women often score higher on emotional intelligence or empathy tests than men. It makes it seem like it's scientific, established fact that women are more empathetic. At best, this is extremely misleading. At worst, it's just plain dishonest. Because you want to know how they're reaching these conclusions? They're extrapolating from data that shows that women are better at detecting emotions than men. Several meta-analyses of gender differences in nonverbal decoding have shown that women are superior in decoding emotions than are men. Of the studies included in these meta-analyses, 80% show a female advantage. Now, I will grant you that women are more attuned to the emotions of other people than men are. But let me ask you this question. What makes you think that detecting others' emotions automatically makes you more caring and compassionate? Psychopaths are really good at studying other people, noticing their emotions, detecting facial cues, learning about the emotional landscape of the person that they're interacting with. But nobody would claim that a psychopath is empathetic. Yes, somebody could be more aware of your emotions, but it could be for the purpose of knowing your weak spots so that they can attack you and manipulate you. Being aware of another person's emotions does not mean that you have more empathy.
Okay, well, actually, that is cognitive empathy, or cold empathy, that is sometimes called, because this is what psychologists say, okay? I'm not anybody who knows anything about mental health. I'm just repeating what psychologists say, okay? And that is that, like, when it comes to empathy, you get the cold or cognitive empathy, which is the ability to, like, pick up on people's emotions and their feelings and to understand what people are feeling. And psychopaths do have cognitive empathy. They are able to, tell. Some of them can be quite good at, like, picking up on people's emotions and what they're thinking and feeling, and, like, spotting people's weaknesses, which is why they can be good manipulators. Okay, but warm empathy or emotional empathy, that is the ability to feel sorry for somebody. And that is something that psychopaths do not have.
Because here's an obvious question. If women really were so emotionally attuned to those around them, why are they so oblivious to the men's crisis out there? Blissfully ignorant of the silent struggle and existential pain that almost every man is going through. And why is it when men speak up about their suffering, like women are always telling them they should do, come on men, open up, share your emotions. Why is it when men do that, is the response from women so underwhelming?
Well, I would say that depends on the woman, how understanding they are to men, if men open up about their problems. But I would also ask the question then, why is it that if women do say that men should talk about their problems and open up more, that some guys in the manosphere then say women are trying to turn men into women? Also, I would ask, how understanding are the men in the manosphere towards, like, problems and struggles that mostly face women more than men, like single motherhood? If you talk about a woman struggling to raise children on her own and struggling to be able to put food on the table for them and to pay the bills, how understanding are the men in the manosphere to a woman in that situation? I mean, you would only need to read some of the comments that get left around the manosphere about single mothers to realise that. How understanding are guys in the manosphere to women that have been victim of sex traffickers? Once again, you would only need to see how many guys in the manosphere and red pill community go all out to defend Andrew Tate, despite Andrew Tate, like, confessing to virtually everything he's accused of. Okay, people who are a fan of that site, isn't it? Women posting their owls. I mean, are these guys compassionate to the struggles of women? I mean, right, the thing is like, men don't know what it's like to be a woman, and women don't know what it's like to be a man. Also, the sympathy for strangers only goes so far. People are more likely to sympathise with somebody they know than somebody they don't know. But also, if people are angry, apparently empathy goes down as well. So when you have men that are angry towards women because they've had bad experience with women, and then you get women that are angry towards men because they've had bad experiences with men, and that's why you get people who they blame the opposite sex for all, they blame everybody of the opposite gender for their bad experiences in their, like, romantic life, but then refuse to acknowledge that the opposite sex can have problems as well. You get that on both sides. The lack of empathy that some women have for men, I think this is to do with the fact that a lot of women believe that they are still the more disadvantaged ones, or that their life is harder. And not just women, a lot of men believe that as well. And I do think that when somebody kind of thinks of a group of people as more privileged than them, or if they think they have their life harder than a certain group of people, they find it a bit harder to empathise. And you get the same with, in the Manosphere, a lot of the guys do not empathise with women because they think women have everything so easy and they think men have everything so hard. Okay, when, like, I mean, everybody has problems. I get a bit fed up with this competition over which gender's got it better and which gender's life is harder. We all have different struggles. Okay, but, yeah, that's one reason why, like, there's sometimes, like, a lack of empathy for men. The other, I think, is because women are physically weaker than men, women feel like they are the more vulnerable gender, which, I mean, okay, I mean, women are more vulnerable in the sense that, like, it would be harder, you know, if a woman, you know, was attacked by a man, it's harder for a woman to fight off a man than it would be a man to fight off a woman, and it's because of that as well, is why I also think that people find it a little bit harder to sympathise with men, and why people, you know, sometimes always think of, like, victims of domestic violence. They often think of the man as the violent one and the woman as the victim, even though, like, both can, both men and women can be abusive. But also I would add that, like, people who call a man a wuss for being, like, being abused by a woman, I have heard more men say that. Okay, there are some times when men will empathise more with women than with men as well. Like, and this is brought up in the Manosphere quite a bit, that very often male judges are more likely to sentence, to give women, like, lighter sentences than what men are for the same crime. And if a woman is, like, given, like, a harsher sentence, it's very often because it's a woman judge. Okay, so that sort of empathising with women more and seeing men as meant to be, like, the stronger ones, that can be both genders. Okay, so I do agree that is a problem in our society. But I'm just saying that can be both genders.
Let's get serious here. In the instance that a woman is capable of noticing a man's emotions, his suffering, her ability to detect it does not make her compassionate or empathetic. If a woman is truly capable of empathy towards men, you will see it in her actions. She will help him. She will support him. She will stand up for him. She will be there for him when he is struggling. If you see those actions, that is when you know a woman has empathy. I completely reject the myth that just because men are not as gifted as women are at detecting emotions, that means that men are not as compassionate or empathetic. I actually find the portrayal of them as such to be hateful and sexist. If men lacked empathy, why is it almost every time you see a random act of heroism, it is a man risking his own safety for the comfort of another? It's because men are extremely empathetic. You can see it in their actions. See, men don't just notice suffering in others, they take action to help, often at great personal cost. In this article, they found that of 676 acts of heroism through the years 1989 to 1995, 92% of the acts were committed by men. When you study empathy through action, it is incredibly lopsided towards men, and it's far more broad-reaching too. They found that there is significant sex difference in the relationship of the rescuers and the persons rescued, with females being more prone to rescue relatives and less prone to rescue unrelated persons, especially unrelated persons unknown to the rescuer. In layman's terms, in those rare cases where women did step in and risk their safety, it was mostly just cases of them helping their family, which is noble, no doubt. But look at men, look at this table. Of the 621 rescues completed by men, 420 of them were complete strangers. That is 67%. 2/3 of the time, they didn't even know the person, and yet the empathy from men was so strong that they felt compelled to act. Wow. Men are awesome, beautiful, sensitive, empathetic people who deserve our praise and gratitude, right? I mean, what other explanation could there possibly be?
Okay, I am not disagreeing with Alexander Grace here about the fact that you know, somebody like risking their life to like save other people. That's an amazing thing, you know. That's heroic. Yeah, definitely should be rewarded. Okay, that's a wonderful thing. I'm not disagreeing with that, but what I would say is that I don't think that somebody being brave and putting themselves in danger to save somebody else necessarily comes from being more empathic, right? And the reason why I say that is because what I've heard is that psychopaths can sometimes be heroic as well. Psychopaths do not feel fear the same way as we do. Okay.
Another thing. Somebody comes in this, you can see them come in this room now and they, you know, just kill me. They're slow, torturous death. You know, they're really hacking at me and stuff. Be honest, you know, are you going to feel upset and like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God? Or is it just like, would you just sort of watch?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't get to me. I'd probably just watch. I wouldn't be happy this is happening to you, but I wouldn't wince and I'd be analyzing it. You know,
You're curious.
I'd be curious. I mean, I remember when I was in college, I have a scar here on my arm where I went through a window and it was open my whole forearm. And when I went, they said, you better go to the doctor on campus. And I went there, everything was open. And I could see all my muscles and tendons and blood vessels. And I went in and the doctor's, he's fixing it. He goes, does this freak you out? He didn't say freak you out, but it was like freak you out.
Yeah.
And I go, no, it's very interesting. Look at it. You can watch everything. It was just, I was able to completely separate it. The fact that it was me really almost, you know, bleeding out. And so it's true for myself too. You know, in separating the ability, I think, to separate yourself out from that part of you that is full of angst and full of dread is something, you know, I can do. And I am mostly interested in things that are otherwise terrible, but they may involve me or you. So that would be my response to anything. I do not have this sort of jerk back of disgust, awful reaction. And so when I, you know, do these functional brain scans and I'm shown pictures of school buses being blown up and terrorist attacks and all this, you know, as bad as it can get, and my brain scan shows nothing. And in fact, I don't feel it.
You talk of disgust, but there's two things. So there is the disgust of the blood and guts happening as I'm being torn apart or whatever.
No, or the moral outrage, or just the awfulness. No,
the empathy, the sadness.
Well, that would be, yeah, the empathy or sadness. I'm not happy to see this. It's not like I don't enjoy knowing or seeing other people getting killed. I don't enjoy it, but I don't have any particular positive or negative reaction. To me, it's an event.
Yeah.
It's a factual
what if
event.
What if I'm going, help me, doctor, help? You could call somebody.
Well, I'd call sure.
But just like I might as well do it. I might as well call. Why not?
No, I would try. I would try to do that. I'd call the police here immediately. I'd call 911 and saying something is happening, Britain, get in touch with them. That's how I would do it. Sure, I'd do that. I don't want to see you die. I don't want to see you tortured or anything.
Oh,
but I wouldn't have this emotional upset. No.
Okay.
But I would try to do something for you. I mean, that's what cognitive empathy is. I know what you're feeling. I don't feel it, but I'm going to help you. Yeah, I do that all the time.
Okay.
And that's why people over the years, since I was a young teen, with all my female friends, my wife's girlfriends who are still around and come and visit, and with my other friends, a lot of times will come to me for advice, but I'll never cry. I never get emotion involved, but I'll try to help them. I'll try to give them the best advice I can without, you know, being affected by the emotions like other people do. So yeah, having cognitive empathy, which is one of not just having that and no emotional empathy, is the trait of people with these personality disorders like psychopathy and narcissism. But it's not a bad thing, because the people who have that are more likely to be the people to help you or help others, because they're not or the people who are, they say I'm empathetic, they'll mostly cry with you and they won't do anything. Or they'll see somebody in need and they don't actually send them money or do anything. So people with cognitive empathy that actually do something.
And psychologists have said that they believe that James Bond is actually a very good portrayal of a psychopath. Okay, and and he's a hero, even though, like, yeah, he's a fictional character. He's a heroic character. We only hear about psychopaths when they're doing evil stuff, like murdering people. Okay, but it seems like in a lot of like films and dramas, like the guy who's really tough, who's meant to be alpha and masculine, comes across a bit psychopathic.
Anyone ever diagnose you as a sociopath?
Diagnosed? No.
I believe the reason why, statistically speaking, more men are likely to perform heroic acts is because men are braver when it comes to taking risks, okay? I mean, we know that more men go to prison than what women do because men take greater risks. More men are more likely to be involved in road accidents due to like dangerous driving because men take greater risks than women. But also more men are more likely to perform brave acts and courageous things, even if their own life is at risk. And I think that is because they are braver when it comes to taking risks. That's what I think it is. I mean, when you get the real like adrenaline junkie people who do like really dangerous stunts because they get like an adrenaline rush from doing something a bit dangerous. I mean, that's normally always a man, okay? Women are more cautious, okay? So yeah, I mean, people who do heroic stuff, who have saved lives and stuff like that, yeah, that deserves praise. Obviously nobody should be making light of that. But I'm just disagreeing with the theory that it necessarily means that somebody, like, feels empathy more. Because it seems like even people that do not have that much emotional empathy can still be great risk takers and can still do heroic things, okay?
Well, if you ask the researchers, the greater frequency of male altruism towards non-kin is basically a result of watching too many John Wayne movies. Unbelievable. How can you write that? It's so offensive, especially since 1 in 6 males paid with his life in order to commit these acts of heroism. Imagine that, just dismissing the bravery of all of these men, saying they're basically overgrown kids who just want to play John Wayne. Why can't we just admit the truth? Men commit acts of heroism and bravery. Men rescue strangers because men are compassionate, empathetic creatures. And we have no problem expressing that empathy with action. It's not just words. Men don't just talk about it, they do something. Now, are you ready for this to get even darker? Strap yourselves in, because I don't believe that just talking about it, just connecting with other people emotionally, is actually evidence of empathy. I think that person is actually just being selfish. I don't think that they deserve praise for it. And of course, the implications of that statement that I've just made when it comes to judging the differences between men and women is significant.
Okay, this has been going on like for a long time in the manosphere, that like guys have brought up this like claim that they feel that they've been lied to, that they've been told that women are more empathetic, that women are nicer, that women are kinder than what men are. Okay, and I mean, I'm not saying that women are more empathetic than men. Okay, I genuinely don't know. I think that probably depends on the individual people. I don't think that's a gendered thing. It might be, I don't know, partly to do with people's genetics, partly to do with what kind of upbringing they've had. I don't know. And apparently there's other factors, like if somebody's going through some sort of trauma and they're very, very angry, apparently empathy goes down. So there's, different factors. Okay. And if some guys have been raised, if they really have been raised to think that like women are angels and can't do anything wrong, then like I agree that is wrong. I think that that's unhealthy and unhelpful propaganda. I think like men should be well aware of some of the bad things that women will do. I also, though, do not agree with certain areas of the red pill where they make out that men are angels and can do no wrong either. But a question that I have to ask some of the people in the Manosphere and red pill community, a question that I have to ask some of them is regarding when they get like upset about the claims that women have more empathy than men. They get upset and bothered about this. And I would ask them this, like, if that bothers you, then why is it that whenever you find men that you think are worthy of being male role models, men that you think are very alpha, very masculine, and the kind of men that other men should look up to and that other men should strive to be, whenever you find men that they describe like that in the Manosphere, why do they always pick guys that have low empathy? Why do they never pick men who have high empathy if they're the ones that are specifically upset about the claim that women are more empathic and kinder? Why do they then always find that the guys that do not have empathy and are not kind and say that these are the masculine men? Because this is what comes from the Manosphere. And no, I'm not just talking about people supporting Andrew Tate and like other so-called alpha males like him. Like I could say Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is a guy that a lot of the people in the Manosphere and the red pill community, they say that he is a real alpha male. Okay, I think Pearl Davis has said that she thinks that he is like the most masculine man or something that she's ever come across, that she thinks he's a real alpha male. You know, even though they're always saying that women aren't supposed to have a point of view on what a man should be like, but apparently if you're a woman who hates other women like Pearl does, well then you can have an opinion. But yeah, there's a lot of guys who look up to him as an alpha male, and that guy, a lot of psychologists will tell you that he has a narcissistic personality disorder. Apparently, like I've heard that there's some debate about whether he could be a psychopath. Okay.
This is the difference between covert and overt. Now, recently, we are coming to the realization that the classic phallic, grandiose, overt narcissist, the Donald Trump type, is actually a psychopath, not a narcissist. And that the only true narcissist is what we used to call hitherto the covert narcissist. That's the only true narcissist. Because this kind of narcissist is compensatory. It compensates. He compensates for an innate feeling of inadequacy and inferiority by presenting a facade of superiority and grandiosity. Mm-hmm. So what used to be called narcissists until recently is probably a variant.
If you're compensating, though, then, which is what you're saying is true of the grandiose narcissist, then isn't there an extent to which you kind of don't really feel it? Is there some level on which you don't really feel it, or are you unpuncturable? Is it that you really somehow the is it that the rep? I mean, I find these are metaphors we're talking in here, and sometimes they're not a perfect way of explaining something. But I mean, are we saying that the covert narcissist is basically almost a less successful example of the narcissistic strategy? He has been less able to extinguish.
Yes. The difference is not the difference is not in the psychodynamic landscape. All types of narcissists are grandiose. All types of narcissists require narcissistic supply, which is a fancy term for attention. All kinds of narcissists require attention from the outside, feedback. All of them need to be seen in order to regulate the sense of self-worth, self-esteem, self-image, and self-perception, etc. All of them. This is common to all narcissists. The difference between the covert and the overt is the covert is less self-efficacious. The covert is less adept and less successful at obtaining supply directly. So he needs to go in a roundabout way. Some covert narcissists team up with overt narcissists, with Donald Trump types. They team up with them in order to vicariously enjoy the supply, kind of moon and sun relationship. Other covert narcissists become passive aggressive, and they derive their sense of omnipotence from their ability to sabotage and undermine and obstruct other people, etc. So but until recently, we believed that all of them belong to one big genus, all of them belong to one big family. But now we're beginning to believe that the overt, grandiose, classic kind of narcissist with the braggadocio and the boasting and the bragging and the in-your-face grandiosity and the contempt, this kind of narcissist is actually a psychopath, not a narcissist.
And I'm not saying that makes him evil or anything like that. And, you know, by the sounds of it, it sounds like quite a lot of presidents or potential presidents are people that, like, might be on the spectrum, or if that's the right word to say, like, might have psychopathic traits, okay. But I'm just saying this is always the kind of guys that these guys in the manosphere always look up to. Guys that, like, are lacking in empathy, okay? There was even one guy who was saying that he thought Vladimir Putin was a real masculine man. And that was that guy, one of the guys from the Whatever podcast, the one who, he also has a channel, is it like Modern Life Dating or something like that? And he was saying that he thinks Vladimir Putin is a very masculine man. And I kind of think, like, why do these guys always pick, like psychopathic men to look up to and to say are like the masculine men? And, like, if they're the ones that are going to say this is alpha, this is masculine, to then turn around and say it's not true that women are more empathic, it's like, well, I'd say, well, why are you even offended by that? If you think empathy is for wusses and it's alpha and masculine to, like, be a psychopath, well then surely somebody saying that, like, oh, women have more empathy than men should be like, well, that shouldn't bother you, because doesn't that just mean women are more weak and more pathetic because being a blimmin' psychopath is supposed to be alpha according to the red pill? I know Pearl Davis at one point, she did a video that was titled Why Women Hate Masculinity. Now, I didn't watch the video because I had better things to do, like watch paint dry. Okay, but just that title alone made me laugh. It's like, no, Pearl, women don't hate masculinity. They hate your betrayal of masculinity. They hate the way that the red pill betrays masculinity. Okay. You're the ones that think that being psychopaths is masculine, and you'll pick the proper bad evil psychopaths. The sex traffickers, the rapists. These are the ones that you lot all look up to. In fact, I would even say, like, well, why are you even upset about the radical feminists saying men are potential rapists? Isn't that a compliment? That is what you look up to. You know, I'm sorry, I do think that stuff that radical feminists say are very misandric and very hateful. But some of these guys, like, when they support people like Andrew Tate, Russell Brand, or anybody else who, Charleston White, it's like, I lose my patience. Okay, so back to the original topic about why don't women empathise with men's struggles? Well, do you know what? I do sympathise with a man if he had a horrible wife who just took him to the cleaners in the divorce, or somebody who had fake allegations made against them. I do sympathise with people like that. But when it comes to random strangers on the internet that I don't know, when they spit their vile stuff about women, and a lot of them, you know, it's not just angry, like, because they've all had bad experiences with women. Some of them are just angry that we can work and vote and be educated and stuff like that. The actual people that, like, really would want to oppress women, when you hear enough of that, and you hear enough of, you know, it's always the toxic men that go to the red pill or to the right. It's always, these are the people that will support those communities, because they'll be seen as like, oh, these are the alpha men, these are the masculine men. And it's like, well, and then if you as a woman don't support the manosphere, you will be accused of not supporting the struggles of men. And it's like, well, you know, I'm sorry, I know that you shouldn't judge the whole of the manosphere by like the extremists. Not every one of them supports Andrew Tate. Not every one of them will laugh along at Charleston White bragging about gang raping women. But when you've seen that and it makes you angry, it is hard to actually support that community. Okay. So I'm not saying women have more empathy than men. I genuinely don't know. Like I said, it probably isn't a gendered issue. But I'm not going to listen to people who praise up psychopaths or psychopathic behaviour or abuse. I'm not going to listen to anybody like that complain about, oh no, the women think they have more empathy than us. Well, or I'm not going to listen to them talk about how horrible women are when they're not very nice people themselves. Okay, and that could go the other way as well. The extremist of feminists, like, they would be in no position to sit there and say they have more empathy than men if they're going to act psychopathic, okay, either. So that's all I've got to say about that for now. Thank you for listening.